have they successfully cooled off anyone more than they cooled off Ricky Starks and Mariah May?
Oh, the Mariah May thing has to be studied for
you
decades.
Couldn't cool off two people more if you wanted to do it on purpose. I mean, what a disaster NXT is. I mean, it's not just an awful show, but it's an awful booked show. It doesn't draw any money. It can't sell a ticket. It's just terrible in every way. I mean, they take people who we talked about it at the time. If they would have put Ricky Starks on Raw or SmackDown instead of NXT and had him come out, he would have, with all of that. Remember all that momentum he had from the WWE fans who couldn't wait to see him jump? Mm-hmm. Remember that? How hot that felt? I do. He would have got such a reaction if he would have came out on Raw or SmackDown. Instead, they bring him out in whatever that building is. Is that, it's not Full Sail anymore, right? Whatever it's called. I can't think of the name of the building. They bring him out in that little dopey building with no name. Because then they got to fuck around, change the name too. Put him in a feud with the Eater of Worlds, Ethan Page. There's another one that Ethan Page pulled off. It's really crazy how Ethan Page, whoever gets, and there's people who praise him in NXT. No matter who Ethan Page is in a program with, the person comes out the other end in far worse shape. It is indisputable, and I'll debate anyone on that. I will debate anyone on earth. Put the word out. Joe Lanza is challenging anyone to an Ethan Page debate. Because everyone he's programmed with comes out the other end cooler than they were. Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Ricky Saints, or whatever the fuck his name is now. Right? That guy ain't even on the show anymore.
No.
Mariah May comes in, coming off of the hottest women's feud really in all of wrestling. Okay? With two huge matches, the one in Australia and then the final fucking story, whatever, the fucking ending gimmick, right? Great match, universally praised even by us. While we crossed our arms and bit our teeth and said we didn't want to like it. Praised by everybody, okay? Makes the jump, and they fuck around and change her name, and now they're talking about doing a heel turn with her, and she's just immediately cooled her off.
Yeah, ice bath.
Immediately cooled
Chef
her off.
Michaels seems to cook with a very not a lot of heat, not a lot of fire, not a lot of little cold. He's sushi chef or something out there.
Oh, it's the shits.
Yeah.
Those are two people. If Ricky Starks and Mariah May, two names they absolutely could have used, okay, popped up on Raw instead of NXT with those names, fresh off of their runs, they'd be stars right now on the main roster. I don't have any doubt. Whatever you think star means, they'd be over, put it that way, provided you do something decent with them. I mean, those were locks.
Yeah.
Those were locks.
Yeah, Blake Monroe means nothing in record time in that company.
Means nothing. To the point where they're now talking about doing a turn to try to reignite.
We're reigniting her? She's only been there for a month.
The cringe moment with her where you knew it wasn't working and she knew it wasn't working is she went on TV about a month ago and she broke the fourth wall and looked into the camera and said like a sexual comment because, her and the whole Tony thing, right? And the crowd gave her nothing. They had no idea what she was doing, or they just didn't care. And you just felt her die in the middle of that ring because she tried to reference back to what got her over to begin with, and nobody fucking cared. And it was at that moment that she realized, holy shit, I'm Izzy Dame. I'm Lash Legend. I'm just another person on this roster in this blob of NXT talent, 90% of which will never make it to the main roster or have any kind of meaningful career. And now I am just on this terrible show on a network nobody watches that can't sell any tickets with a new name that nobody can remember. And I'm not half as over as I was before.
Right.
And
my gimmick is just a complete recreation of Sabrina Carpenter because, I mean, it's brutal. It's very bad. And the exact moment you said, if people haven't seen that, you could see the eyes. You always say the eyes never lie. She does. I forget what the words were, but she says it in her slow, voice, and it's like nobody
some
reacts.
Sexual
you can tell.
innuendo, and no one cared.
And everyone's
Nobody
just
cared.
like, either they didn't care or they didn't know, which is also a possibility. Because a lot of these NXT fans probably know the names and know they're jumping, but aren't watching AEW, so they don't know, oh, yeah, that's a reference to Timeless Tony Storm or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? They don't know any of that. Or they just don't care. One or the other.
It's a funny thing in pro wrestling because a lot of times name changes ultimately don't mean anything. People get used to the new name. We've seen it 1,000 times. But there's also this thing in pro wrestling where a slight change in presentation can mean the worst. And it only takes that subtle change. Yeah, Ricky Saints is essentially Ricky Starks. There's not a ton of difference, right? You know, this gimmick is a little different than what Mariah May was, you know, but it's those subtle changes, though, where you just lose whatever you had.
That's why Vince was so smart to just let Cody be everything that he was. Come out with the same robe, come out with the same music. You're just fucking AEW Cody Rhodes. He could have gotten big balls and said, no, you're my creation. You're not Tony Khan's creation. So come out and be dashing Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? Like there's so
or even anything. Even if it was 90% of the act.
Just some small difference, different music or
different without the, or maybe if they insisted he be the American Dream instead of the American Nightmare, or maybe he didn't have his robe, or maybe they told him to lose the yellow hair. It could have been any small
black
thing.
hair. Yeah, no, I want you to have brown hair. We don't like the yellow hair. We want the brown hair.
Those little, sometimes it's all it takes. Yeah. And then the energy is just different.
It's a disconnect. You disconnect from that aura and that momentum and that energy. Yeah.
It's so hard to get something to work that when it's working, leave it the fuck alone. You know, so that's why Blake Monroe is skiing uphill right now. And maybe she's talented enough to overcome. But why are you starting her from scratch when you already had something?
Right. You hired her for a reason.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Right. And they had gotten away from that for a long time. Fuck, man. Levesque got away from that for a half decade. But a lot of that is because he was trying to win over the Smarks. So he would bring in all their favorites, most of them untouched. Yeah, you had your Finn Balor's who went through a little name change or whatever, but he was the same guy, and most of them came in untouched. But he was playing the game, no pun intended. You know, but now they're kind of back to their old tricks, and a lot of times it backfires, and we're seeing that now. It's so funny that a guy like Ethan Page gets to come in untouched.
Right, he can stay the same,
and he's a zilch, like he's just a guy, but he gets to come in untouched. Even someone like Brian Pillman Jr. What was the only thing about Brian Pillman Jr. that was marketable?
The fact that he was Brian Pillman Jr. That was Brian Pillman's son. Yeah.
So they took away the one and only asset he had because he stinks.
No, but he had this chair, Joe. Do you remember the chair, the aura, the scenes, the cinema when he had the chair? Come on.
I mean, he can't work. He can't promo. He never gets any better.
But other than that, the one and only thing that he had that you can market was the fact that he was Brian Pillman's son. And what's funny is they still reference that on the TV. Well, then what the fuck did you change his name for? You dopes. That was the Michael McGillicuddy where they would spend the whole time telling you that he was Kurt Hennig's son. And I'm like, well, then why is he Michael McGillicuddy then on my TV?
Now, listen, look, Pillman Jr. was never going to work out anyway.
No, but
you ensured that he has no chance.
Yes, you start him. You gave a roadblock. You put a roadblock right in front of him from day one, which is not advisable.
As someone in the chat points out, they even let Shawn Spears come in with his non-WWE name.
Yes.
So for Ethan Page and Shawn Spears, you give but these other people who have a chance to be something fresh and something that can catch on, you fuck with it. You fuck with it. It doesn't make any sense. It's mind blowing in its stupidity. And they must think that Ethan Page is some incredible hand who's helping out these young wrestlers. You know what? Maybe he's helping them fill in the gaps with their work. Who knows? I never thought Ethan Page was anything other than an average wrestler. And he's never had a match in NXT that cracked 3 stars. Let's be honest. But where he absolutely is not helping is everything he touches goes to shit.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan obviously doesn't learn because he just brought back Scorpio Sky. So That's like Ethan Page's
I couldn't believe
doppelganger.
when I saw that spoiler. I was like, no. Like, what if we put him with Christopher Daniels? I said, no. Just stop. Stop.
It's like,
you have to quit this guy. You have to quit this guy.
You gotta quit these guys. Eventually, you gotta quit these guys.
Remember when he had the video package? He's like, Scorpio Sky's coming back, and that was like, and then he didn't come back, and they just went away.
He never came back.
And they were like, oh, good, we're saved. Nope, we're not saved. Here he is.
Someone said Ethan Page should have came in as Karate Man, and I know they're joking, but that would have worked better.
That would have worked better than Ethan Page generic fucking Jag is what he is right now.
Are you kidding me? Karate Man would have gotten over with the WWE audience.
Of course.
It'd be Karate Man and Mr. Iguana.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking.
Yeah, now he's just Jag of the fucking earth. Ethan Page.
Yeah, so anyway, that's the NXT show that we're going to dread watching.
Yeah, I can't even begin to tell you how not interested I am in watching that show at some point. But